So we'll be going over IRS Form 15118. This is the response to notice CP562A. So in this video, we'll go over this two-page tax form. We'll talk about situations in which you might receive this form and what information you may be requested to provide. Let's start with the basic question of what is CP562A, because this is kind of a confusing topic if you solely rely on the IRS website for this information. So we're going to switch gears in just a second to go over the IRS page, understanding your CP562A notice. So this notice is basically your request for an adoption taxpayer ID number where the application was incomplete. So request for an ATIN, they're completed on Form W7A. You might receive this notice to request additional information that was missing from your original notice number. So we'll put links in the show notes to the understanding your CP562A notice where we break down the actual notice. But you might receive this notice if there's something missing. But then it also says on this page that when you receive a Social Security number for this child, then you would complete IRS Form 15118 with the child's SSN and then mail it using the information provided on the form. So there's a little bit of confusion here because a lot of what you need to do depends on what your CP notice says and then what your actual status is. So to use this in response to your CP562A notice, and then when you receive the notice and find out that it has an information form that you can actually submit using the IRS document upload tool, it might be a little confusing. So what I would recommend is that you pay very close particular attention to what the notice says it is missing. You may find that there's only a piece of information, so like a copy of a placement agreement between you and an authorized agency, a copy of a document from the hospital saying that they released the newborn child from the hospital to you based on the illegal adoption, or whatever other, citizenship records, whatever is specifically requested. You may be able to just upload that information using the document upload tool on the IRS website. So first thing you should do before committing to completing IRS Form 15118 is to determine whether or not this is actually required. So, and there are no separate instructions to this form on the IRS website other than what you see here. And there's not a lot of instructions here. So we're just going to walk through this the best that we can. And again, if you're using this as a substitute for the information form, then there are certain areas where you should compare this to your 562A notice so that you're addressing the specific item that's requested. Now, you could just complete as much information as you can. We'll walk over the entire form and we'll kind of point out some situations that might be a little bit more problematic that you may want to skip over if it's not specifically requested. So let's break this down into the basic areas and then we'll go back and cover each one. So provide your contact information. So if your application didn't have your contact information, you can update it here. The adoptive child's information, if there was some information missing from the original application about your adoptive child, you would put that in here. Placement agency information, signature, if one or both parents did not sign the original application, you can use this to provide that signature. Social Security number of adoptive parents. So either you didn't enter information or when you entered it, it doesn't match the records that the Social Security Administration has. So this happens for people that have made legal name changes, if they use professional or stage names that are not the same as their social security records. And then this is your chance to be able to address that. And then finally, if you updated your contact information, you can put your new address in this field below. So you can update just the items that are requested in that letter. If you are trying to provide your adoptive child's social security number, ironically, there's not a field in here where you can do that. So again, that probably kind of goes back to further confusing the topic about when to use this to update a social security number on a child's behalf. You could complete that form, somehow sneak the social security number in there, and then mail it to the address using the information on the form. You can also fax it. So let's go ahead and complete this. Let's just say that John Q. Doe we can put in a phone number, best time to call. Let's just say 3 o'clock p.m. We don't have a secondary number. We'll provide the adopted child's information. Her date of birth, let's just say that it was, and she was adopted from Austin, Texas. All indications are that she's female. So again, no field here to update social security information. So, and it's not very clear on this form where you would provide your child's social security information. So we'll complete this. I'll kind of walk through where maybe I would consider putting this information. You could put it in here somewhere and just say, and we'll just say that she was placed for adoption on New Year's Day, 2025. So if John or his wife didn't sign their form, this would be their opportunity to update the signature, telephone number, and date. Social security number of the adoptive parents. And then you would explain name change, though omitted. So this would be another way that I would consider putting this in there. Elizabeth Doe was recently assigned the following social security number. You could put it in here. And then you can update your information if for some reason your original application didn't have it. You would enter that information in here. So pretty straightforward form from outward appearances. However, what you complete on the form, how you complete this form, and what you're responding to are all things that are not very straightforward based on the information that's publicly available from the IRS. So you may want to proceed carefully. I would strongly encourage you to pay very close attention to your CP562A notice to see what would specifically be required to address that concern. That's the main point. Then if you use an enclosed form, or if you have to use this form, or if this is the form that they enclose to respond to your notice, you now know how to respond to that. And then, file it using the instructions indicated in the notice. So that's all we have for this particular video. We'll put links in the show notes, not only to the article where you can read about this form, we'll also put links in the show notes to resources we've created about other forms and schedules that might be pertinent to the situation. So if you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. If you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, or if there's another topic that you'd like to see in an upcoming video, please hit me up in the comments section. Thank you very much, and have a great day.